Mic check, life check. With Haley Jensen. Welcome back. This week has been really funny because there's a lot that has happened. It's been a very crazy week, which if you listened to last week, I was dealing with a bunch of insurance crap and thankfully won through all of my efforts. But that week was just a very stressful week. This week, a lot of different things happened, which I'd say it was a better week overall. There's a lot more interesting and I guess exciting and up and down things that occurred. But before we get into that, the funniest thing for me, so once again, I'm from Utah. There's a lot of Utah drama going on this week, and it hasn't been that boring to live in Utah. Not that it ever is boring, but it's a little exciting. So first off, everything is always on fire or blowing up. That's just something that's very regular. Thankfully, my husband and I don't have a work commute, and so we weren't affected by last night's issues, which a semi-truck was coming down the canyon and their brakes failed and they missed the chance to use their runaway, or I think it's called the runaway ramp or something like that they're specifically built up the sides of the mountains just in case those instances occur, and then the semi-trucks can vroom up the mountain because they can't stop, kind of thing. And unfortunately, from my excellent comment reading, the driver had already missed one of them or was past one, I don't know. And so the driver, thank goodness, I believe no one got hurt. He ended up taking a right turn off the side of where I guess a bridge overpass, I think, if I remember correctly. And anyway, so he rammed the truck into the dirt off the side of the freeway, highway, whatever, going down the mountain. Very strategically. I'd say it's very good driving the way that it was done. Obviously, scariest thing in the world, I'm sure, for him. I'm glad, once again, no one got hurt. I don't know if this is actually what was spilled, because I saw a couple of pictures and videos. I thought the comment said that I was like, oh no, save the beer. So I'm not sure if it was a bunch of beer that got spilled, but if that's the case, lol, I guess. But once again, happy no one got hurt. But that obviously was not one of the things blowing up or on fire in theory, but besides that, every week it seems that something new is on fire. Actually, I believe, I don't know if Provo got under control. I'm assuming it did. But yeah, they were on Provo Mountain or something like that. That was on fire last week, and a lot of people were making Hunger Games captions and like the "if you burn with us." I have a message for President Snow: "If we burn, you burn with us," kind of things. AKA Utah is just so unserious to begin with, but overall, we're doing all right. And I don't necessarily live next to anywhere that's on fire, but knock on wood, I hope that remains the case. As for other news, speaking of fire blankets, just kidding, I don't know. Lola Blankets is causing so much drama right now. Obviously, blanket wars are in abundance in Utah with Minky Couture, with this, is it Saroni blankets and Lola Blankets, and Cozy Earth I sometimes enters the equation as well, but Lola Blankets and Minky Couture are just the arch rivals. And if you're unfamiliar, I'll recap real quick. Minky Couture, the origin being that the owner, Sandy, whose daughter was very ill and was hospitalized for a long time, she was trying to do something to comfort her daughter, and so she brought this oversized large blanket. So I'm assuming she made it or whatnot. But anyway, so that was the story. But then they have notoriously been very good at donating to hospitals and all that. And so then fast forward, Lola Blankets enters the chat, but their type of marketing is the exact opposite. They are using models and sexy people, and you can have these blankets in the music videos. Yeah. Anyway, very glamorous, and which is fine, to each their own, you know, different types of marketing. But Lola Blankets this past week has taken it a step further because they had these customized Razor RV side by side, whatever you want to call them, Polaris things that they were surprising influencers with and saying, haha, look, knock, knock, knock on your door. here's some blankets, so cool. Okay, now here's a customized RV helmet, and then they hand it to them, and they all put it on their head, and then they're like, wait, what? What's going on? And then they're like, but just kidding, follow us out. And then they show them the RV, and then they're driving around. So people like Taylor Lautner, both Taylor Lautners, famous, rich, could easily buy 3 of these with their own money if they wanted to. And so it's killing everyone that's watching this go down, because why are we giving these rich people more rich things? Like, it was very confusing to watch as just the general population, and frustrating a lot of people, which, funnily enough, the Little Blankets did do a giveaway. They just said, hey, on this last one, because I don't know if they had like 6 or something like that, or 7, I don't know. They were opening it to the public and saying, everyone tag your friends, blah, blah, blah. Did I do it? Yes. Do I think I will win? No. So, if you got a tag from me, so sorry. Funnily enough, I've never actually even been in a side-by-side, 4x4, whatever you call them. Cool, I guess, but I don't know. I like to jump on the train of trying to win those contests, because sometimes I get lucky. And speaking of contests, the FM 100.3 secret sound, oh my gosh, if some people may have no idea what I'm talking about, it's just our local radio station, and they did a secret sound, which they recorded some secret sound, and you're supposed to guess it. And it has been going on for weeks and weeks, and every time that somebody guesses wrong, they add, I think it's $100 to the jackpot. So the jackpot got up to 7,300 something, I think. And I was trying to guess as well, but basically you try to call on and be the 10th caller. And sad to say, I don't think I would have won, because I never guessed it correctly. But the grand answer was ripping a styrofoam cup. So if you were listening in with that with me and you also lost, I feel for you, and I feel you. Anyway, so that was the other exciting things with not winning contests of late for me. But besides the other Utah drama, I would say, is poor, I believe it's Sawyer Hemsley, who has been very much scrutinized on TikTok for so-called being gay or not being gay. I don't know. I don't think he formally, if he is, has ever exited said closet, but people are all over TikTok right now claiming that he is very much gay, and that the reason why he is choosing not to come out is that he doesn't want it to hurt his crumble cookie business. I think it's a little silly either way. It's not that deep. It's just cookies. And I think it's crazy that they're attacking some person's sexuality. It's funny enough, I'm pretty sure I didn't run into him, like I didn't talk to him or anything, but I'm pretty sure he went to the same gym a long time ago. Like, I think I had seen him on social media, but then I was like, I think it's that guy. So we very briefly breathed the same very not cookie air, very, very gym sweaty air. But yeah, so have I ever talked to him? No. Will I ever talk to him? Probably not. But I feel for the guy in the way that that's definitely should be something on his terms. I think it's, I don't know. It's just weird to me. But as for the cookies, they're very, very sweet. They're a little too sweet for my liking. However, the Dubai chocolate brownie that they just released this week is sold out everywhere. That's the only time they've managed to kind of loop me in, and it's because I genuinely do want to try the Dubai chocolate. I remember when people were making the bars themselves on TikTok with like the special pack that you could order and then make it yourself, which I think that defeats the purpose, like, because I would manage to screw that up regardless. The actual Dubai chocolate bar that you have to get in Dubai, maybe one day. But as for the crumble cookie one that is a brownie version and is sold out, and I probably will never try, regardless, I guess I'll have to just live on and have to deal with that sort of pain in my life. Ironically, I have a friend of a friend that works at Crumble Corporate, which I've never taken advantage of such access to cookies if I wanted to, because I don't want to gain weight like that. I remember people doing like a deep dive, and I'm sure I could Google it, but just that each individual cookie is like $2,000, or not dollars, lol, calories each, and that would be a little excessive, but to each their own and their own blood sugar. I wish the best for you. So besides Utah being absolutely crazy, there is a couple fun things that happened that were quite unique for me and I highly enjoyed. So, for example, sometime last week, I went to Winco, which we love Winco. But when I went there, I was with my toddler and we were trying to kill some time before his nap. And because he just has one nap a day, and trying to get to that nap, we have to kill a lot of time before the nap. And so we were at Winco and I was just walking around because it's all bulk items and everything. And so I was just looking at all the bins, and normally I wouldn't look that intensely, but I was looking at every single one because we were just walking so slow just to spend as much time as we could in Winco. And I happened to stumble across a new item that I don't know if they've had before, but I definitely was interested in. So for my gym fanatics and protein people, they have a protein powder pancake mix. And it's just in these bulk bins. And I'm like looking at it, and it gives you the recipe for it. It gives you all the nutritional value, whatever. So you just looking at it, you can be like, oh, this is a good idea. So the nutritional facts for a half cup's dry serving, which pretty much makes an average of 3 decently sized pancakes once you do the mix water, all that. But 200 calories for it all and 15 grams of protein. Not bad for pancakes. And the best part is I made said pancakes and ate them. And they taste pretty dang good. Like, compared to the Krusty's white bread tasting mix from Costco, I honestly kind of prefer this one. And so this one, after doing some deep dive research, not really, the brand that it stems from or is from is called Happy Day. So it's Happy Day protein pancake mix. But Costco sells it for $3.28 a pound, which is not bad, and in their bulk. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. I'm not keeping it, so go get it. Don't buy it all out because I will need more. My next exciting thing that occurred recently was probably at least 2 years now, have wanted to get the big 3 / deep dive information regarding my star signs. Because for years now, I'd always known I was a Pisces, right? People had told me that after I told them my birthday, because they're that smart and they have the entire calendar memorized somehow. That always was very impressive to me. But anyway, I didn't know the other answers, especially because, like, if I were to live in LA, I would need to absolutely plan my entire life and existence around every aspect of it. But the problem is, in order to know such things, you need to have your birth time known. And one, I don't think my parents would even know that off the top of their head. And then also, I fear that I don't think I would ever ask them directly, be like, I need to know this. Do you know this? Because I need to know this for this. And so just hasn't been the utmost priority. However, my parents did give me a box of all of my childhood things within the last 6 months. And within that box has my, not necessarily my birth certificate. I'm sure that's somewhere. I don't know. But it had the little documents from the actual hospital for just the little nurse paperwork. And I found what time I was born. And so that was very exciting for me. And so I finally was able to plug in all my things. And for my very informed individuals that are familiar with all things star sign equivalent elemental P, I will tell you. Right. Introducing sun sign is Pisces, of course. My moon sign is I am a Libra. And my ascendant sign, I am a Leo. Which, throwing that into ChatGPT, I feel like it is a very good explanation of my character and the person I am. I'm not saying that just to say that wooingly, just being like, yes, that's me to a T. But no, genuinely, breaking it down and actually having ChatGPT describe what it all essentially means was pretty fun. I feel like it was pretty cool to see. And so I was very excited to finally be able to do this after years and years. But so yeah, somebody that is more informed or has something cool to tell me about such things, feel free to DM me on my Instagram. So during the week, we don't usually go on a ton of errands. Like any normal errands usually just consist of going to a park or Walmart or Costco if we're feeling crazy. But this week we had a couple additional errands, including going to Hobby Lobby, which was fun. And when we were at Hobby Lobby, they had obviously their Halloween stuff up and Christmas, because it is Christmas at Hobby Lobby already. And thankfully, I am now at a point in my life where I do not feel the desire to buy something if it's cute, because there's a lot of cute things out there, but mostly because living in my house and now that I'm slowly accumulating a decor archive, I would say, you can't just afford to buy things left and right. And anyone that does and then proceeds to throw it out the next week or whatever, it's just not a good for the environment and all that. So I, funnily enough, did not buy a single thing, but I did window shop a ton. But the one thing I will buy soon, maybe, Christmas-wise, is something that I'm totally copying from TikTok, where parents buy 2 of whatever ornament that year that represents either their family or something unique. They buy 2, one for the family tree and then one they put away as a ornament for their child's future tree. So it's kind of cute because you can give it to them when they leave the house or whatever and be like, here for your first Christmas tree. And they'll have like all these ornaments from over the years. And I think that's cute. So that's what I was looking at when I was at Hobby Lobby. I didn't see anything crazy because they were just barely putting out the Christmas stuff. But when there's more, then I will look at that more seriously. Last year, it was a like kind of troll looking thing. It was pretty cute though. And bought 2 of those. So after we were done with Hobby Lobby, I was putting my toddler back in his car seat to drive to our next location. And I noticed there was a couple red dots on his thighs, which it looked like it was just very irritated from who knows what, but there was just like a couple like dots on his leg. And I'm like, okay, not sure what this is from, but whatever. Fast forward. So then we go to, because this particular day was so incredibly hot and toasty outside that we could not go to a park. We would probably continue to be deceased. And so then I was just like, okay, where can we go that's indoors that he can be a bit of a menace running around but not cause too much damage? So normally I would prefer to go somewhere like TJ Maxx or Home Goods for my own benefit, but the problem is there's way too many candles and breakable items, and it's not that big of a store, and there would just be a lot of items that he would want to grab and hold and destroy. And so that's not an option. Another good option probably would have been like a large place like Costco, but I am not a menace to society, and I respect people and their walking paths. And so I know for a fact that he would probably run in front of people's carts, and just not a good option, even though it's a big warehouse. So then I'm like, what's another warehouse? I landed on Lowe's, which is like Home Depot. If you're not familiar with Lowe's, I don't know why you wouldn't be. But anyway, we went to Lowe's, and that was a pretty good option because it was pretty boring. We did not run into a lot of people, and the aisles are pretty wide, and there's a lot of very mundane things sold there. And so like it kind of looks like a giant house a little bit, just with like, some random things like plungers and scrapers and stuff like that, you know. And so anyway, however, when we did walk in, they had their own holiday, like Halloween equipment stuff set up. And so this part I feel a little bad because they had the Halloween, like dancing and jumping spooky things that like have the try me buttons. And so like you can click them and they do their animation or whatever. And so there was like 3 towards the very edge of the setup. And they were obviously very cute. Like, they were cutesy ones. Like, small little dancing, smiling skeletons and whatever. And so, their first 2 were And then there was a third button next to like this really tall cloaked figure thing. And it did look scary Did I think it was going to proceed to jump up 6 feet in the air and make my toddler scream a scream I've never heard come out of his mouth and start to cry? And I felt like the worst person in the world. Okay, and for the record, I didn't know which button, like I knew that creature or figure thing was there, but there was also a bunch of others surrounding, and so I didn't even know what button that it was linked to, because there wasn't a direct obvious cord linking them. It was just kind of a mess. And so anyway, oh my gosh, I felt so bad, and my kid's crying, and I just immediately hug him, and I'm like, it's okay, buddy. Like, and this, like, the saddest part about it all is that it's basically his first recent knowledge awareness of Halloween. And I feel like I've already just given him some mentally just traumatized up the wazoo because of it. And I know he'll forget one day, but I just felt so bad because the first two ones were so cute and they were like dancing and he was dancing and it was cute. And then, yeah, it got ruined quite quickly. And so, poor little guy. But he survived somehow, so that's good. The next adventure after that, and I don't even remember what day, I'm just recapping the whole week, but so we went to a gas station that was kind of floating around on TikTok for Utah County being a very like cheap do-it-yourself soda drink like swig place. It's called Friends Gas Station in Pleasant Grove, which is nearby. And I had never been, but because of the wonderful TikTok videos, I was very much influenced that I just wanted to see what it was about. And I am not a huge soda drinker. Obviously, yes, Utah is very much known for the dirty soda thing. I don't go to drink shops whatsoever, but I just wanted to see what this place was about. Because they also, besides had soda, they had like other unique treats and stuff. So when we went in, first off, they had boxes and boxes of the Squashies Smarties candy, which when I tried them a couple of months ago, so good. I literally ate the entire package so quick. And they are very good. And they're always out of stock. But this Friends gas station has got it going on because they know their audience. And so they just have boxes and boxes and boxes of them, knowing that they are sold out everywhere. And so they're just doing their duty as a fantastic little gas station. And yeah, so props to them. I did end up getting a drink, and the drink was good, but I mean, I think it's more user error on that part that I am not a soda shop worker. And so the way that I made the drink was like, I'm sure it was not fantastic, but yeah, it was cheap, and apparently if you prepay, you can just give them your number and whatever, and you get a cheaper drink or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I remember drinking this like 40-ounce thing of soda, which one, I felt like an absolute like type 2 diabetes RS mentality, because I was like, oh my gosh. Like, it was diet, but you know, diet don't do much. I don't know, it affects you somewhere. And anyway, but then I remember like having to pee the next 2 hours, and I was so miserable because, I don't know, like drinking water being annoying, I hate peeing. Peeing's annoying. And so I was like, why did I do this to myself? So I enjoyed that drink that day, but once again, another reason why I will not be an avid soda drinker every single day, because you gotta pee a lot, and that's not as fun. But anyway, so that was the joys of the gas station place. But it was fun, and I think they had some really good desserts and snacks and stuff, so that was a good time. So after the gas station, we had gotten home so that my kid could take his nap, which was great and fine and dandy. Right after I had put him down for his nap, I happened to be on Instagram, and I follow this page that has Utah local family good activities, yada yada. And I just happened to stumble upon that for our local aquarium, which is usually pretty expensive, I'd say, per ticket. A little bit more than the average person probably would want to drop on going to an aquarium. But for next week, or no, not next week, but next month on one specific day, it's like a $2 day for each person that goes. And so, but it was funny because I happened to be on Instagram and I saw it, and it was saying that at noon that the tickets went on sale or something like that for the $2, but then that they would most definitely sell out. And so I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. And I look at the time, I'm like, oh, it's right afternoon. Oh, okay. And so I go look, and yeah, lo and behold, I snagged tickets for me, my husband, and my parents, and we're going to the aquarium next month for $2 a person. And so that's exciting to look forward to, but I wish I knew the actual name of the page. I'll have to find it and tag it in the description, but it's a good page. I think this is like the second time that I hopped on the trend of something that they're posting. Like, they had posted about Thanksgiving Point, also Utah location, a $5 Tuesday thing, which was really cool because, once again, this is a place that I normally wouldn't pay much more, but I had never been, and then I took my toddler at the time, so it was actually pretty good. It was a good time. Okay, the other thing that I learned very recently that probably I should have learned, I'd say 10, 15 years ago, was how to defrost chicken from being frozen pretty quickly. So the way that we normally do it in our house is very ghetto, and I'm pretty sure invites bacteria or something, foodborne illness, because most of the time we'll just put it on a plate on the counter and then it defrosts by dinner time. I'm pretty sure that's like one of the worst ways you can do it, but whatever. That's basically apparently how my husband's family did it growing up. Like, because that's whenever I asked him about it when we first got married, he's like, yeah, this is just what we do. And I'm like, okay. And so it's worked for us. No one's really ever gotten sick. And if we had, I don't think we ever thought it was because of that. So anyway, I forgot to pull out the chicken for dinner that morning. And so I was texting my husband. I was just like, oh, crap, it's too late, blah, blah, blah. But recently I had seen a TikTok about someone breaking it down on, you can just fill up a little bowl with water and then replace that water every 30 minutes or so. And you can defrost the chicken in less than like 2 hours or an hour and a half or an hour. And so I texted him. I was like, wait, actually I saw a video on how to do it. Just so simple. And the funny thing is, I remember that I think my mom used to do that when I was younger, but it was never really explained to me, and I was like too young to like, what's prepping dinner, you know? And so so I learned a new little mom trick. I give mad props to all those that existed, adults before the internet. I don't know how they did it. I know they all talked to one another probably and learned many things from their grandparents, and they all remembered them because their brains worked before we all had brain rot from all of our daily internet exposure and intake. But, to each their own. And because I'm going through the timeline of all the things that occurred, remember how I mentioned those red spots on my kid's leg? So at this point in time of defrosting chicken, whatever, I remember grabbing my kid from his nap, and I went to go change his diaper, and I noticed that those red spots on his leg were on a lot of spots on the rest of his body at this point. That they were popping up everywhere. And not so much that I thought that he had the measles or chicken pox or anything, but just kind of some red splotches here and there. And I'm like, oh, these are weird. They almost looked like bug bites, but they weren't bug bites because there wasn't a point in the middle of them, and they weren't raised. They were just flat red splotches. And so I was kind of concerned, and so I was like, oh. And so I was looking around a little more, and I'm like, oh, this looks a little concerning. And it wasn't eczema either. So I grew up with eczema, very familiar with it. Even with my kid, he has a couple spots that are eczema on his body, but it didn't look like eczema. And so I was a little concerned, so I took pictures and sent them in to our pediatrician, or I guess the receptionist or the nurses or whatever. And so then they sent and looked at it with the doctor or something like that. And so they weren't too concerned. They initially thought it was kind of eczema, and I was like, well, kind of, but probably not. I mean, I'm not the doctor, but from my own eyeballs and my experience myself with eczema, I was thinking that was not the case. And so, anyway, they were just like, okay, well, just see how it turns out. Watch it and see if it gets better overnight or whatever. Because, I mean, if it was a small allergic reaction to something, just like whether it was just seasonal allergies, it probably would go away. So anyway, the next morning, poor guy wakes up with the most swollen under eyes. He looks like he had 2 bee stings or something under his eyes. And I felt bad for the little guy. And anyway, and then he also had some more red spots that were more aggressively popping up. And so I sent those pictures in to the same text thread to the pediatrician. And so then they're like, you should probably bring him in just so we can look at him. And I'm like, okay. And so we got in like literally 40 minutes later. And I mean, we live really close to the place. But anyway, so then they were looking at him, and the doctor or nurse practitioner that we don't normally see, it was a different gal, but she was a sweetheart, and I thoroughly enjoyed her knowledge. But anyway, so then the funny thing is that if you just Google like the general symptoms, even before we went there, they were just like, oh, you can give your kids Benadryl. But the problem is, my kid's not 2 yet. He's not even 1.5. And on the children's Benadryl bottle, it says under 2, do not use. And then it's like ages 2 through 5, ask a doctor. Like, it's very like, don't use this if your kid's younger than 2, and which my kid definitely is. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to like hurt my child. And so, anyway, so obviously I had asked at the doctors, and I was just like, so it says don't use this, and she's like, yeah, like you can use. So she gave me like the dosage for it or whatever. It was obviously a smaller dosage, but anyway, it was funny because I was like, okay, well, I'm glad it told me not to, but you're saying it's okay. Not that I'm like a crazy nervous Nelly or anything. It was just funny because like initially looking at it, we happened to actually have some on hand because the a year or so prior, my dog had gotten stung by a bee, and like his face absolutely swelled up, was swollen, and like a balloon, like his entire muzzle. He looked like such a like dweeb cartoon character, and anyway, so then I was trying to figure out how to help him, and apparently you give your dogs Benadryl, children's Benadryl. Never knew that. So anyway, I ended up getting it back then. So thankfully we had some on hand, and we were ready to go for our actual child's allergic reaction, supposedly. Do we know what it caused it at this point? No. But the guess is that it's probably just regular seasonal allergies. Things have been pretty aggressive with the changing of the seasons and all of that around here. So that's my guess. I don't know, if I were to do a more in-depth guess, I feel like it might have been caused by Hobby Lobby, that they had so many like fake flowers and stuff there. Not that he'd be allergic to said fake flowers, but like all the dust and stuff. I don't know. I'm sure something was in there that irritated his system, and I felt bad because he was just covered in the red dots, but he wasn't like bothered by them. He wasn't itchy or wasn't like, I don't know. He just didn't even know they were there. So I was happy about that. That's nice for his sake. And then ergo, I don't have to feel bad about it. But besides that, and then his face was just a little swollen on the second day. He had a couple more red spots throughout that day, and then but we were giving him Benadryl pretty regularly, and so that was helping a lot. But so that was a new adventure for us as well. So on that day, right after, I remember we'd gone home just so I could give him the Benadryl and then grab his hat and my hat because it was very, very sunny. And we went to a park that's pretty popular, famous. It's called Cook's Family Park. It recently was finished, but it's pretty ginormous and it has its own like huge splash pad. Ironically, I'd also seen another creator make a TikTok video about how fantastic it is and that it should have its own admission fee, which that's a bit of a stretch. It is a very large park and very enjoyable. But anyway, so we went to it, even though poor little guy had his face all swollen up. But I mean, like I said, he didn't seem bothered by it at all. But so we went there just to spend all of our time and energy and getting him nice and tired for his nap. And so that was fun. We didn't bring his like swimsuit or anything, and quite frankly, he still hasn't technically been in a splash pad. Like, he's gone swimming and stuff, but hasn't gone to an actual splash pad. But mostly that's because I'm very specific with doing new events without his dad around. Like, I like to do those things as a family. So he will officially go to a splash pad when we are all going to the splash pad. But I don't mind, because, like, he's still pretty young, and I'm worried, like, even the couple instances of him just going to local parks, he's been, not, I wouldn't say picked on or bullied, but, like, there are some just, like, nasty kids that just because they're older, like, they don't understand the whole emotional regulation concept. And so, like, I'm talking, like, 3 or 4-year-olds will be like, ugh, get out of my way. But, like, he's only in their way because he's just walking and he didn't move quickly enough, or I don't know, they're kind of jerks. Kids can be jerks. True story. But anyway, but for that reason alone, I am more cautious with taking him to parks, and just kind of, I know, especially like with splash pads, it's a little harder because if I don't want to get completely drenched myself and he's in a area that I would struggle getting access to, it just kind of makes me a little nervous. But yeah, not just park stories though. The other really annoying thing that happened to me this week. So years ago, I had bought a power washer, and I'm trying to remember why I washed it. I remember I bought it for a very specific reason. Don't remember what it was. I'm sure it was to clean something. But over the years, I've obviously used it for a couple of different things. And so most recently, and I'd say most repetitively, I power wash these rugs that are right next to, they're kind of like doormats, right next to the outside doors that my dogs will run outside to go to the bathroom and stuff. And so one of the more recent times, one of my dogs, he has issues. So he'll throw up every now and then. Just bile. It's his stomach just because it's either too empty or something like that. I don't know. We feed him, but like he's just a very hyperactive dog. And so he goes through the food and the energy very quick, and then his stomach's empty, and his stomach's like, yo, we don't like being empty. And so then he throws up bile. It's great. I give him an antacid every night, and it's a great time. But anyway, he happened to throw up on the mat/rug pretty recently, and I was like, okay, well, I gotta clean this. And so I was planning on cleaning it during my kid's nap. And so I pull out all the stuff for it, and I am making sure that things are plugged in properly, because there's a specific cadence that you have to do when using the power washer, because it's connected to water and electricity at the same time, and the machine, because, you know, water and electricity usually don't mix. And so how it works is that you have to go connect the hose to the box, turn on the hose, then go connect the energy supply router thing to the outlet, and then you can turn on the machine. And so yeah, so I do all that. I click the thing to start the machine, and it goes, but then it cuts out, and I'm like, it sounds like it like blew either a fuse or the test thing. You know, on hair dryers where it's like the test function or whatever. It's a surge protector, I think, of some sort. But anyway, so it's not working, and I'm like, what is going on right now? Like, did I just break this machine? Which it's not that old, and I've only used it a couple times. So if that's the case, I would be very mad, because I mean, I'm sure it was over $100 or whatever. And anyway, so then I am just like, okay, well, let me just take it out, plug it back in, you know? And so that doesn't work. And I press the power button on the machine again, and it's not happy. And so then I'm pressing the reset button on the little control thing that's connected to the outlet, and that's not working. And I'm like, okay, well, I probably maybe like blew a breaker or whatever it's called, where I need to go flip the breaker, right, for that specific outlet. And so I go inside, get my shoes, go downstairs to the basement, which it's not finished, so it's kind of dusty and stuff down there, which is why I need shoes. And so I go downstairs, and I'm like, crap, what's the name of that outlet? Because I don't know. And I was looking around, I'm like, okay, it's not like a master bedroom. Like, there's a bunch of labels that I would very much recognize, but because it's an outside outlet, I have no idea. And so I'm Googling it, and it's like GFI something. I don't remember what it stands for, but Anyway, so I'm like, okay, it's one of those, because there's two of them labeled similarly. And so then I am looking online still, but then it's like one of the Google articles that I was reading was saying, okay, you got to be very smart when you do this, though, and make sure first that you unplug anything that could be in those outlets. And I'm like, should I unplug? No, I didn't. And so I had to go back upstairs, out the door, unplug it. And then I'm like, okay, now I can go flip the breaker. So I go back downstairs and I flip the breaker and I wait 30 seconds or so. Then I flip it back on. And I flip the other one, wait 30 seconds, flip it back on. And so then I'm like, okay, that probably worked. So I go back upstairs and I do everything again in the correct order. And I press the power button and it doesn't work. And I'm like, okay. And so now I'm very frustrated. And I'm also in the blazing heat because I'm outside and it is very, very toasty in the heat of the day, heat in high of the day. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate everything. I swear if this thing's broke. And like, I'm specifically doing it at this time because my kid's asleep and it's a good time to do it. And so then I am like sitting there thinking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. And I was really mad because like when I had first connected the machine, it had made like a whirring noise, like it was working, but then it stopped. And so I'm like, I swear if I blew the fuse on this thing. So then I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, wait. And so I go walk over and it's all plugged in and yeah. So I pull the trigger on the handle for the power washer and it works. It just didn't make some humming noise or anything. So here I thought it was broke, and I don't think it was broke at all at any point during this. I just needed to squeeze the handle and have it start going. In my brain, I had connected it and thought it was going to make a whirring noise like a vacuum would when you press the power button. But it didn't. So that was a big old L on my life and a waste of time and stress and sweating because it was not broke. So that was my stupid thing of the week. Love that for me so much. But I did get the power washer to work and I did power wash the vomit off of this rug-ish mat thing from my dog. Thank you, Thor. So yeah, if you thought you did something stupid this week, that's mine. Along with my other outdoor adventures, I pulled weeds another different day, but I was proud because this part of where all these weeds were absolutely horrendous, and they had been for months. And I don't know what got into me. I think I was just really stressed, and I had a bunch of anxiety and stress built up from the last 2 weeks. And so I ended up pulling all these weeds, and I made this one section of a problem area of our yard look spectacular. So 10 out of 10 go me for that. And I don't know, that's one of the funniest things to me is that as a kid, I remember hearing my parents saying oh yeah, if you want to go pull weeds, they'd say it as if oh, if you're bored and you want to help. But now as an adult with my own house and everything, I highly enjoy pulling weeds. There's such a satisfaction to it, along with it's such a good just stress, just touch grass kind of moment for me where I just enjoy it. It's a good kind of stress relief, and especially because it feels like you're fixing something, even if you're stressed out about something that you can't necessarily fix in the moment. So, fun fact, weeds are cool. Who knew? Not that kind. I'm talking about the literal of the earth screwing with my grass kind of weeds. Fun fact, if you're just joining us. But anyway, 10 out of 10. Oh, another side note on the my weed adventures. So a couple of weeks ago, I had bought this specific weed killer spray that you connect to your hose and you just kind of spray it in the yard. And I specifically bought it because we had a bunch of weeds, right? And the worst weeds that we have right now are this crabgrass kind, and it's spreading pretty bad. And yeah, long story short, I think lawns are so obnoxious for the reason that we have to baby the crap out of them and fix them every single year and spend so much money and time, but whatever. We're just a little speck of dust in the world, but here we work so hard on our lawns. But anyway, I had bought this and was spraying it around to kill weeds and whatever. And I was waiting for 3-4 weeks because the next time I could apply this, if I wanted to apply more, would be 5 or 6 weeks out. And so like I'm watching it all and the crabgrass is just getting worse. And I'm like, this is so dumb. Why is this not working? And so like I'm going out there with my phone and using like the identify Google thing. I'm like, is this for sure crabgrass? And it's like, yeah, this is crabgrass. And so then I use ChatGPT and I pull up the weed killer spray, whatever. And I'm like, will this kill crabgrass? Like, I need to know. And it's like, no, that's not one of the things that's listed that it kills. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my life. Why am I wasting my time? And so that was great. But then, so fast forward, that same day, that same morning that I realized that, I immediately drove to, it wasn't even my nearest two Walmarts. It was like a third Walmart because it was the only one in the valley that had one bottle of this special like crabgrass killer. And so I went and got it and I sprayed it during my kid's nap. And yeah, thankfully that one definitely did work. And of late I've seen the repercussions of it murdering the crabgrass. So that's been fun. That has been very satisfying for me, but it was not satisfying in the fact that I thought that we were going to accomplish that much sooner, probably like a month or so ago. But so that's been my yard chronicles of mine, which has been so fun. But yeah, so besides crabgrass and pulling weeds, let's say besides that, our grass is pretty all right. But it's been really freakishly hot out, and like I said, it's supposed to rain this week, and I am very excited for that, and hopefully we can bring some cooler weather overall, because I'm sick of this heat, especially for walking, because I have not been walking this much, like this week, very much, because it's just been so hot that I will literally pass out of heat stroke or something like that, and that's kind of a problem when I'm supposed to be the adult of the situation of a toddler and 2 dogs, so probably not a good idea. Anyway, so then let's see. I think that was pretty much it for all the just mundane things. But for the fun things that happened this week, I got 2 new piercings. Yes, I did. In my ear. It happened earlier today as we are recording. I've been wanting 2 new piercings specifically. I want double helixes on both my ears. But I made a TikTok a couple weeks ago about it, and all the comments were like, no, you can't do them at the same time. You can't do that. It will heal horribly, and your body will hate you, which is absolutely true. It was a pipe dream. So I did get a double helix only on one of my ears, on my left ear, or right if you're looking at me, I guess. And I am so happy. It has been a long time coming. I obviously could not get pierced when I was pregnant, and you can't get pierced when you are breastfeeding. And I breastfed for a hot minute. So I knew that I wanted to wait at least a couple weeks, months, whatever, after getting off of breastfeeding, because my hormones would have been out of whack as well, which they still are. That's why I'm a hot mess always. But I knew that there was just going to be a select window of time for me to do this if I have a second kid with our supposed timeline of things. And so, because I wanted to give my ears ample time to be able to heal said piercing. So we are still on day 1 today, because it literally happened at 1 p.m. today that I got my ears pierced. And I absolutely love it. I feel like such a baddie, and I am too scared to commit to anything tattoo related, but piercing is another story, and I love it. This is your sign, if you've been sitting on getting a piercing, to go do it. It makes you feel like a baddie. It also hurts. I need to keep up on the meds, because yeah, tonight's gonna be rough. Tonight's the first night, but it was so cute though, because I've been prepping my husband, and he's a sweetheart too, because he was the one that he knew I wanted to get this piercing for over a year now. I wanted to get it for my birthday, and my last birthday was in March, and so but I was breastfeeding during the time, and at the time I didn't realize you couldn't, it was not a good idea to get your ears pierced if you are breastfeeding, and so I had told him back then that was the only thing I wanted for my birthday, which means I didn't end up getting anything for my birthday, which is fine, because that's on my terms. But anyway, so then so this was definitely on the to-do list, and so it did. And I finally got it done today, and I am so happy. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to be in pain now. But my husband is a sweetheart, and he is so cute because I had been kind of telling him the last couple of days. I'm like, okay, in a couple of days, I will be only able to sleep on my right side because I am going to have my ear be not the one facing down. So he's very aware of the sleeping arrangements, and I think that's just adorable and cute in itself. But overall, I am now committed to making sure things heal better with this one. I would say the absolute stark difference in this piercing versus my other ones, because I have all three. I have like my thirds done on both sides, on both ears. And so because I've had, but outside of my trip to icing / Claire's when I got my first done, horrible decision. Thank goodness they're going out of business. But, sorry, Claire's, but it's true. Your piercing tactics are horrible. But anyway, my first were icing, but then my other two were this one specific piercing shop. But then the ones that I went to today was a different piercing shop, and it was the one that I was the most impressed with, which was Heart and Hands in Orem, Utah. And I already forgot her name. It starts with a J. Jacelyn? I think it's Jacelyn. She's the one that pierced me, and she is incredible. She's a sweetheart. She was so considerate of what I wanted and listened and gave great advice. And I had her to redo the dots for where she was piercing, and she agreed. Like, we'd hold up the mirror, and I was like, and she'd be like, yeah, no, I agree. And she'd redraw before she pierced him, obviously. And so absolutely love her for that. She's iconic. And when I had got my thirds before at the other place, the thing that did not happen that definitely should have happened was she should have informed me about downsizing to a smaller rod once the healing period had passed, which is like 2 months. Yeah, or like the initial healing period. But she didn't, and so I don't think I ever downsized, which is a big deal. I won't go into it. Like, if you want to research on your own for what the concept of downsizing your jewelry is, like, be my guess. But basically, it just, when you're first getting pierced, your tissues swell, and that's why you need the longer stud and whatever on it. And so then when the swelling goes down, if you have the longer post, then it will be moving around, and that will prevent a good healing on it, because it just kind of reopens it because it moves around so much. And so I never downsized on my thirds, and so I was just constantly reopening this wound, I think. And so anyway, the girl that pierced today, she immediately was on that, and I had even told her about that, and she's like, yeah, that's probably why that did not heal very well. But overall, had a splendid experience, and I honestly, I like thinking about it in this terms of things, that this double helix piercing was for this specific baby. Like, that was, I don't know, like, tattoos have meanings, right? And so for me, this piercing that's the meaning for it, I guess. My double helix is for my baby boy. But anyway, so then for my next kid, I can even it out, which I feel like I'm a little psychotic in the way that, I don't know, maybe there's a lot more people like me, but I feel like a lot of people, they don't have matching ears on both sides. I like things very symmetrical, and I feel like that's very unconventional, but I don't know. I think it'd bother me. I'd feel like lopsided or something if I didn't. And so, but for right now, and until I have another child, and then post breastfeeding again, then I'll probably go get the other side done, you know? We'll see. But that is the plan so far, and I will also be in pain for the next foreseeable future. So, but I will not complain. I've only complained like, I think, once or twice today, which is really good. And the 2 times it was just because I was in just a lot of pain. Go figure. So, besides that is the excitement of this week. Except for, okay, I just remembered one thing. We had made some pretty bad like eating food decisions this week, and that's because the last 2 weeks have been insanely stressful for multiple reasons, not just the last week's insurance story podcast, because that was pretty fun on its own, but no, that was sarcasm. But there was even more things going on in our lives, and so we had pretty much failed in the department of cooking like healthy food at home, and so we had eaten out at like 3 or 4 different places. Oh, I forgot, we had Panda Express, we had Arby's Jamaica Shakes, we had Domino's, and we had In-N-Out, all in the last like 2 weeks. So yeah, not doing very good in the health department, but we try to make good decisions with each one to an extent. So overall, we will be better next week, I'm sure. And I know for a fact that we're going to be happier next week because Google Pixel released their phones. And so we are getting new phones. And so that'll be fun. We usually upgrade our phones every 2 years or so because I'm on the Google Pixel 8 Pro right now. And they had 9s out. And so the new ones are the 10s. And so we're jumping from 8 to 10. So very excited about that. I very briefly debated getting the Fold, the Pixel Fold, which I held the Z Flip one in person, or that was the Galaxy, whatever, which super cool. I think I just want an iPad, to be honest, but I wanted it for content creating, but I ultimately decided against it. So I'm just getting the 10 Ultra Pro or whatever it's called. It has a slightly bigger screen. I think it's just an XL or whatever. But mostly because I have a kid, and I feel like if I had a Fold, it would probably get cracked, broken, or whatever. And so I just don't want to risk that. And the camera's better on the XL. And so I am very excited to shoot content with it, but we shall see with everything else in life. And I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully it's worth it. But besides that, I'm trying to think if there's any other exciting things in the foreseeable future besides just my mundane everyday things. But if you enjoyed listening to it, I would appreciate it if you give me a little 5-star. I'd very much love for that to happen, and it takes half a second to do so. So would very much appreciate it if you did that. Thank you so much. And yeah, feel free to hit me with a follow on whatever platform. We have the Instagram, we got the YouTube. Ooh, if you would subscribe on YouTube, that'd be cool. But yeah, and then feel free as always to DM me if there's something you'd like me to talk about. I would love to, I'm sure. And we will talk about it. So besides that, I hope you have a great rest of your day and drink water, because I sure am not. And we will see you next time. Bye.